It was probably not long after I was jettisoned from the uterus that I began my slow accumulation of stuff and things. I was born into this world with a brother already 3 years deep, and while I'm not sure that most would argue that a 3-year-old has the mental faculties to be deemed a collector, he was already well on his way to amassing possessions. Now, like most babies, we weren't all that knowledgeable yet in literature or cinema, so beyond the musings of Dr. Seuss and Baby Mozart, most of the things that we might call our own fell into the realm of
toys!
Surely there's a delineation somewhere between the hodgepodge chest of action figures and Lego Duplo and a bona fide collection, but if there ever was, it was surely spawned from that mess. At some point along the timeline, our blocky dinosaurs and armless muscle men shifted from the mere stuff of play into the realm of representation. Perhaps it's when I had a dresser of my own, its smooth faux wood top ripe for exploitation, that I realized I could choose the finest of my chewed up junk to put on display, to craft a more permanent narrative of the countless battles our boys had endured. And so we got to work. Now, a mainstay on the dresser space was of course Dragon Ball Z. Growing up as a boy in the 1990s, DBZ was a zeitgeist powerhouse. I don't have to tell anybody my age that Toonami was positively stacked, but beefy boys firing lasers from their fingertips, transforming into even buffer blondes while screaming to the heavens. Yeah, it was over from there. And while our lives were awash with t-shirts and posters, VHS tapes, and Trunks swimming trunks, the dresser top saw only the finest of these. Posable action figures with anywhere from 4 to 10 points of articulation, and if we were lucky, some of those sons of bitches had lights in their balls. But the figures didn't stop there. Of course, our PVC pile saw the likes of Star Wars, Zelda, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, to name a few. Maybe you heard of them. On the slightly more obscure side, some of my most fondly remembered include the Samurai Warriors from Ronin Warriors and the Kangaroo Warriors from Warriors of Virtue. We liked Warriors, if you couldn't tell. And of course, alongside this, from the ashes of Duplo, it was not long before I was indoctrinated into the big boy world of Lego. Before I could even tie my shoes, I was snapping greens to reds and blues. Star Wars, naturally, was their only license worth the time of day back then, but oh boy did it command that time. Every birthday, Christmas, grocery trip with a fat stack of allowance in my pocket, I was ripping boxes and building blockses, condensing the DBZ dresser footprint to make way for the likes of Boba Fett's Slave 2 and Jabba Hutt's Slave Crew. And then a blocky boy named Bruce T. Batman came around, and my NES wallet would never be full again. But foreign powers were not stopping there. While the Danes were blasting injection-molded cubes into my literal dreams, the Japanese artisans were not content with crafting solely buff boys and the like. There was another storm that had long been brewing. A little company by the name of Nintendo had an ace up its sleeve. And with a father already invested in the Super Nintendo juggernaut, it didn't take long for us to become hooked on
video games.
And what's to talk about video games without bringing up Nintendo's golden child? That's right, it's Pokemon! What's that, you say? There's so many branching avenues within the Poke ecosystem for a young collector like myself to become addicted to? Well, it sure happened with
Pokemon trading card game.
And that's before we even knew about
Yu-Gi-Oh!
And thank God I dodged the wallet-blasting bullet that is Magic the Gathering, but you can bet your soggy little butt that I spent my parents' crisp American greenbacks on half a dozen other trading card games that I never even played, simply because they feature characters from my favorite
manga!
I have too much shit. What, you're not convinced? You want a lightning round of everything I still have collections of to this day? Well, okay. We got
Pokemon trading cards galore, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Digimon, DBZ, and more. Kid Icarus because it came in Nintendo Power. Zatch Bell because we liked it 15 years ago. VS System for Marvel and DC. UFS, what does that mean? I don't know, but I like Soul Calibur. Not to mention a billion sleeves, manuals, empty packs, coins, dice, beans, rice, action figures from video games, action figures from TV. Mobile Suit Gundam, yes they're separate because I built them. Speaking of building, I've got Legos. Less than I used to, more than I need to. Rows and rows of minifigures. Back in college, this monstrosity. We got tiny toys of other majors. Just last week, I almost suckered myself into buying Mini Funko. I freaking hate Funko! You know what I like? Video games. Various games from like 10 consoles. Consoles themselves that I never play, toys and junk from said games including even more figurines, commemorative coins, carrying cases, broken controllers that I might fix, Nintendo Amiibos, chessboards, that's a game, various posters, that one's a movie, it's pretty good. Speaking of movies, we got 1,000, maybe not, but there's a lot. Movies, TV, overflow, TBD, music, CD, vinyl, merch!
I don't really care about like VHS or cassettes anymore. They're kind of clunky. Maybe one day.
Books! You saw the manga. We also got real books. Here's some fiction. Here's art reference. Here's books on the fiction and art reference of aforementioned games TV. These are magazines from Nintendo. Somewhere in there's some yearbooks. These aren't books, they're freaking trading cards!
Why do I own 4 camera bags when I only have 2 cameras?
Did you see the rocks? Some are shiny, some are normal. These ones are from the ocean. Eagle-eyed viewers will say that's a shell. Those same viewers can go straight to hell. Boxes, so many boxes. Tech I bought that I still have. Tech I bought that's long been gone. Boxes from cards, boxes from toys. Some I never opened, some I never will. I throw out my Lego boxes because somebody flamed me on Reddit. Mostly a joke, but it happened. Still have a couple. And more posters. These are my cylinders. What does that mean? I don't know either, but they go together. You know what else is a cylinder? Coins! Pennies, dollars, state quarters, random coins beyond our borders. These are my laptops. They both broke. These are some iPhones, but not the one I just threw in the hot tub. Good luck getting my info now, hackers. Here's stuffed animals I got as a kid. Here's stuffed animals I got as an adult. This is my junk drawer. 1 of 5. I don't want to dig into it, but I'm pretty sure there's more junk. I think you get the idea!
I have shelves upon drawers upon floors of memorabilia, filling the countless nooks and crannies with scant few places left to go. Every wall of my 1-bedroom apartment is lined with things that have no function or whose function is long gone unappreciated. I don't read the books. I rarely watch my movies. Once a year at most, I open up a drawer whose cheap plastic is warped under the weight of even more plastic, only to say, oh neat, I remember when I was into that, and shut the drawer until next time lilts around. But I keep buying. One IKEA case becomes 3, becomes 9. The measly 2 shelves included not enough to host my hoard, so I buy an extra dozen or 2 so I can maximize the space. And despite my valiant efforts to organize and optimize, the walls keep closing in. Some days I look at these stacks and I think I should leave this all behind, you know, cast it into the sea, buy an RV or something, live a little more life, right? I mean, I've seen where this goes. I'm not the first person to let collecting get out of hand. My grandmother, though you wouldn't know it on first glance, danced the line between collector and hoarder. In her most guest-visited rooms, self-made paintings adorned the walls and dashingly dressed dolls sat upon shelves and windowsills. Seasons of countless shows stacked layer upon layer filled the entertainment center, but only a handful spilled out into public view. But behind closed doors, in the most literal sense, the belongings of her life consumed entire rooms, keepsakes and clothes piled to the actual ceiling. Any sense of curation long since abandoned as the mounds of amassed junk slowly amalgamated into an indiscernible mountain, any individual item now inextricable from the heap. And as the years went on and her health got worse, the dolls and art and DVDs encroached upon couches and floor space alike, shrinking their home though the walls stayed in place. I have to imagine she passed on some of that voracity for things onto her daughters. Her youngest, my aunt, lives in a home whose walls are more media than sheetrock. She and my uncle possess more films, books, vinyls, and CDs than I could ever hope to consume in all my time on Earth. And it is a collection in the most organized sense, but it still sometimes feels like one that threatens to swallow their home whole. And even then, they're not without their rooms off limits for fear of stumbling upon their less than structured clutter. My mom, the middle child, is no stranger to junk rooms herself. All my life I've known tubs and totes filled to the brim with holiday decorations, workout tapes, every straight A and art class scribble from 3 boys across decades of school. Their older sister, and also my aunt, seems in my memory to have escaped the urge, but maybe she just hid it better. There were an awful lot of off-limit rooms while we were learning to cross-stitch. But I don't want any of this to come off as disparaging my loved ones. Far from it. You know, to my grandmother, I could sense that her bedroom behemoth was a source of shame, growing worse year by year, any efforts to conquer it flattened by the weight of the task. 60 years is a lot of time to collect, after all. But to a 10-year-old boy, this place was cool as hell. A jungle gym unlike any I had encountered in my life, not to mention the forbidden fruit of being off limits and dangerous, not to mention the high likelihood of untold treasures buried just one layer of blouses deeper, if only I was allowed to keep searching? And my aunt and uncle's house, built from load-bearing compact discs? I've experienced more wonder and merriment in that place than probably anywhere outside my own home. They both played a huge role in fostering my love for the arts in the first place. And for years, my mom ran an antique shop, her literal livelihood subsisting on collections of herself and others, finding new homes for well-loved curio cabinet accoutrements, repairing furniture for renewed life. She was good at it. And if it wasn't for her ushering me to the library and tiny mall bookstore what seemed like 10 times a week, I probably wouldn't have read half the stories that I have today. And that's what all these things are, beyond the literal text on pages and frames on screen, down to every tin of shiny cardstock and bucket of plastic adventurers. These things, in a way, are the story of my life. These figures are the hours spent plotting battle scenes with my brothers. These cards are the afternoons once school let out that I strategized alongside my friends. These books and films and video games are the stories of others, yeah, but they're also the story of my life as it unfolded, poring over pages and panels in the library, feasting my eyes on fantasies with family. It's hard to say goodbye to that, you know? And it's not like getting rid of these things removes their impact on me, but they help me remember. I've lived a lot of life, and I hope to live a lot more. There's only so much pink mush up here to keep track of it all. But if I carry on at this rate for another, 60 years of my own, this stuff is going to swallow me whole. So, what can we do? I found, I think, a few solutions or compromises to quell my lust for consumption, to regain a bit of the world around me lost to this habit. Let me break it down for you. Turns out you can sell things for money? I'm talking the very same American greenbacks that I relinquished to acquire these goods in the first place, baby. I need those to see. I got my first big taste of the thrills of capitalism when I decided to get rid of, wouldn't you know it, my complete collection of Dragon Ball Z manga. I'm talking DB1 to DB done, and you can bet your sloppy boxers they were arranged in order so you could see the masterfully crafted vignette unfold along the spine. But I said no. Mom, I'm 12 now. My tastes have matured. I'd like assistance listing these on the electronic bay so that I might use the funds to possess something of a more refined palate, like Naruto, 4 through 28. And so, we posted those bad boys with a generous fee of $200, and it didn't take long for someone to bite. Hello, she wrote, as remembered by a then 12-year-old boy. Lovely collection. I'm looking to fill out my classroom's library. Would you consider $125? $125? That's only 62% of the Narutos I was expecting. But man, what a noble cause. Could I really deprive the next sweaty boy generation of sweaty buff men blasting lasers into each other just as they had once blasted hope into my heart? How could I decline? Turns out you can take that one step further and just give things away for free. I wish I could say that I was already in a place financially that all the things I part with leave sans strings attached, but I will brag a little by saying that the local library of each town I've lived in has grown a few works fuller thanks to my hands. I've gained so much from libraries who ask for nothing in return. A story, a sanctuary, a lifelong friend. And when you give back, you pour into that system for countless others. What lost soul now flips fervently through my copy of Ranger's Apprentice 2 the way I once did in that hallowed ground, only to next week pass it off to another in need. If today's kids aren't reading Ranger's Apprentice, we need to have a talk. And yeah, thankfully I'm a lot better off now than I was at 12, and when one day I part with the rest of these books, I think the library will be their final resting place. It doesn't fill your pocket to give things away for free, but it fills the world and it fills your heart, and that's something you're always going to carry with you. Unless you get like a heart transplant, I don't know, you might be screwed at that point. So as the years slink by and the size of my collections continue to ebb and flow, I continue to feed the library and the online marketplaces, and not too long ago I realized something new. This little folder on my desktop, eBay sales. We'll forego a conversation on digital hoarding, but here sits a repository of images of most of the things I've sold over the years. Those stories come flooding back. The Legos that my friend and I braved the Chicago public transit for when our minuscule dorm room could hardly hold them. The Naruto plush toys that I spent a week at Walmart wrangling from the claw. The Donkey Kong amiibo that I won in a raffle, lined alongside my compatriots in the dead of winter at some GameStop midnight release. 6 seasons of a show that my then girlfriend's mom tried to convince me was really good. The gently used mattress topper my mom got me when I found out after signing a lease that the provided bed was less welcoming to sleep on than a Metropolitan Park bench. Witcher 3 on the Switch that ran like dog shit. I'm starting to remember why I got rid of a lot of these things. But this is my collection. And I promise you when I say this, the pictures were enough. Not stock images on a website. My things, my memories. And not in some closet Dusseldorf collecting dust. In microscopic megabytes of memory, neatly arranged, just how I like. I couldn't hold them in my hand, but clearly I wouldn't do that if they were still here either. And yeah, one bad spill could wipe them out, but the same goes for me. I'm willing to accept that all of this is temporary, and smile, and move forward. So where does that leave the rest of this junk? If you couldn't tell from this video or my last one, I recently got back into Pokemon TCG, and in the process of overdoing it, I did manage to pick up this bad boy from the world's chillest shop owner. It's Umbreon from Neo Discovery, my favorite little guy from my favorite era. Fat yellow borders on a rich black body enclose his fat yellow stripes on his rich black body. I would kiss him if I could. No, I wouldn't. Anyway, I decided that this little rectangle right here was the end-all, be-all of paper rectangles. My holy grail, if you will. I decided, come hell or high water, that this is the guy that I would keep. If a tornado strikes in the dead of night, he's on my evacuation plan. My wife needs heart surgery. I'll sell my binders, but sorry, sweetie, Umbreon stays. If I get robbed, you best believe I'm taking a knife for this guy. I mean, realistically, I could just buy another, but I think the card's cool. But in all seriousness, it's genuinely freeing to determine for yourself, yeah, if I could only have just one, this is it. It's okay if I happen to lose all the others. This is the one that will stand as the symbol for my love of a time where rectangles ruled. And so I've been going through my collections that you saw, trying to pick one from each to be what remains. For manga, I quite like this special edition of Fullmetal Alchemist Volume 1. For a movie, Royal Tenenbaums has a special place in my heart. My friends would tell you that my video game pick would be one of my 6 variants of BioShock, but actually, it's Cory in the House. I'm just kidding, it's probably BioShock. Maybe Pokemon Crystal, if I ever splurge for a copy of that with a box. Figurine? BioShock. Or maybe Figma Link, don't quote me on that. Minifig, though? Lego Batman. Light bluish gray suit with yellow belt and crest, blue mask, and cape. Music's a toss-up, but Folly I Do from Fall Out Boy is a strong contender. If you know, you know. These items aren't set in stone. They're allowed to change as I do, and they probably will. But for a book, it's going to be hard to beat this copy of Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. It's from our childhood collection back in 2001, and its inside cover reads, "Hey boys, number 4 in your Harry Potter set. Love, G. Mossera." One piece of my lasting collection, handed down from one hell of a voracious, gracious, loving collector. It's maybe the only physical thing I still have from her, and it belongs to my brothers just as much as it does to me, but it's enough. A handful of items from some of my most treasured times in life, one shelf, throw in a cool rock and a plush for good measure, and I can do without the rest. One final collection of all my collections. If it lasts as long as I do, they can launch it into the sun when I die. Or, that's pretty stupid. Let somebody else have it. I'm dead. What do I care? I don't want to feel like I'm drowning in things. I don't want to feel locked in a cage match with my memories and the memories are winning. I don't want my inevitable and unpredictable death to be a chore for my loved ones, sorting through my junk as I've seen us do for those before me. I'm alive right now, at least while recording, and you can bet your sludge-soaked trousers I'm going to make the most of it. So, anyway, I've been packing up a lot of things lately, stuff that I've held dear, stuff that I'm ready to say goodbye to. I'm not down to one shelf yet, but the ever-looming siren of RV life keeps calling from a distance, and space is pretty limited. Buckle up. I'm gonna go outside and touch some grass now.
I'm the Prince of Science.
Wait.
Martha! I am the Prince of Science. I am Justice. Gallic God!
Hang on. I'm losing breath. Okay. I think we're good.